and I'm changing it slightly from what I put down in the program. What did I put? What did I put down now? I'm changing it slightly. I looked at it earlier and thought, let's tweak that a little bit. So I'm going to focus partly on next week, and which is the belly breathing side of it.
Okay.
And so, like, this little chapter is really to change the approach to moving, to using our body, to exercise, one of the things that we have tendency to do is to use as much energy as we can. We try to do things as strongly as possible. And it's an approach that we need to change. So what happens is that when we're giving our full energy, we're also giving the full motor neuron signal. And if we're giving the full signal, we're giving the full flawed signal. So if we give less, then we're also reducing the flawed signal. So that's one side of it. And it's difficult to do because we're already reduced by our muscle reduction. So we're already reduced in terms of not being able to do things as fully as before. So we have the tendency to push things like we used to do. And it's completely natural, unconscious effort to make. So we also need to make a conscious effort to do something different. So by giving less, we'll be reducing the excess flawed signal. It's a little bit more than that. It has to do with it has to do with being in a state of relaxation. Oh, here's Janie.
I apologize for being late again. I just started the new Relivrio, and a side effect of that is running to the bathroom. So today's my second day, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my stomach. So I apologize.
No problem. And if you need to run, just put the screen on pause, or don't even. We'll know. Don't worry about it. We can pause. So I just started to introduce it, and also I was having a bit of a snooze there, so I only woke up a few minutes before this, and I was like, I thought I was going to meditate, but no, I wasn't. I had a proper snooze, so so I'm still waking up a little bit, going, oh yeah, what was the class about? And I've changed it slightly from the program. But this chapter is about our approach to exercise, to using the body, and it's also taking examples of what we can do with belly breathing and walking and speech as well. That's not in it. It should be in it, but yeah, I'll include speech between this week and next week. So one of the things, I'll restart slightly. So one of the things that we tend to do is that we have a reduction in our muscle capacity. And so we tend to make an extra effort to make up for our loss. So this is one of the reasons why we tend to strain muscles so frequently, is we're trying to do things like we used to. and it's a completely unconscious and natural habit. But we have to make a conscious effort then to do things differently. So when we're making that extra effort, which is still less than what we used to be able to do, we're sending the full signal, the full flawed motor neuron signal. So by making less of an effort, we're sending less of a signal. So it's pure rationality, and and of course it's scientifically simple. So if we're sending less of a flawed signal, our motor neurons last for longer because there's a less damaging signal going through. So it's worth it, and it's one of the types of trials that they do is to try and reduce that signal. It is a specific ALS problem. So we have that's one reason for making less effort. Of course, it's hard for us to do that because then we're not trying as hard physically. We're trying to do things better, and it's a little bit nuanced, because we're taking it easier on ourselves. The other side of it then is that the step to do that is to simply do things in a more relaxed way. So if we're more relaxed, our body, our muscles has less stress in it. If we're more relaxed, we talked about it 2 weeks ago, our motor neuron signal is reduced. And that's very easy to demonstrate to ourselves. Any part of our body which is tense, there's a motor neuron signal running through that which is higher. It's, again, scientifically simple. So by being relaxed, we reduce that down. And the more it's reduced, the healthier our body is, the more we're capable of slowing the progression and converting our body from a stressed environment to a calmer, healing environment. So that calmness, that state of relaxation which we have when we're asleep, is the one that I'm going to ask you to try and get into when you're awake. And it's what I do. I've spent thousands and thousands of hours doing this, and it looks like you're doing nothing because you're just relaxing by doing nothing. But it's a very specific kind of doing nothing, and it's a little bit different from doing nothing because I can't do anything, or doing nothing because I'm too tired or because I don't have the strength. It's a different kind of doing nothing. It's doing nothing because that's the best way to be relaxed. It's the best way to be to have my body in a healing state, similar to being asleep. So the intention of it is different, and that affects our state of mind. So instead of, I'm doing nothing because I'm too tired, or I'm doing nothing because I'm exhausted, or, it's I'm doing nothing because I'm entering into a healing state. And that's a completely different way of thinking. Now, the other things can still be true. We can still be too tired and too exhausted and too weak. And so those things can all be true. But the perspective that we're coming from is different. It's that I'm now taking this time to relax, to be in a deeper healing state. So the simplest way of doing that is by focusing on belly breathing. So belly breathing is what you see every baby doing. All babies do belly breathing. As we get older, we tend to start breathing from our chest, and usually by the time we're an adult or in our 20s or 30s, or whatever it might be, nearly all our breathing is from here, the top of our chest, not even our lower, our what do you call that? That's the abdomen. That's what's that called?
The diaphragm?
Diaphragm, yes. So people talk about diaphragmatic breathing, which is better than the chest breathing, but that's absolutely true. But you can go one step below that, down to the abdomen breathing or belly breathing, because our lungs reach all the way from our shoulders right the way down our back, well, inside our back, down in between our belly and our back. They're all the way down, goes all the way down there. And if you have asthmatic lungs like me, you know, they did X-rays of my lungs before they diagnosed me with asthma, and they had to take 2 X-rays of my lungs because they were so long. You know, this was somebody who's taken thousands and thousands and thousands of X-rays and was shocked at the length of my lungs. And I don't know to what, apparently it's not so unusual in asthmatics, but I also had spent years consciously doing belly breathing. And I learned a little bit about it from doing acting classes, because in acting, they ask, well, this is the one I was trained in, they ask you to breathe from the belly and to speak from the belly, which is what I'm doing now. And it changes your voice and it changes your energy. And you can practice it at home to yourself, where you can feel where you're breathing from and how that sounds. So if I really concentrate down on my belly, it's from here. But if I concentrate on my chest up here, I don't know if you can notice that it's tenser, it's tighter. And it's normal for our voice to go up and down a little bit there. But in the acting classes, for the actors to give a fuller expression of feeling so that there's less held back, belly breathing was the way to go. Probably the same with singers as well. I imagine it is. So I'd learned that practice from acting classes, and even quite some time before I was diagnosed with ALS, I was practicing this because I had problems with my breathing, and it was one of the first things that then in the diagnostic process was one of the first things that was recognized, was that I had weak diaphragmatic muscles. So you say, yeah, okay, what can I do? But interestingly, the belly breathing is an easier type of breathing for us to do, because when we're doing chest breathing or lower down diaphragmatic breathing, we're still pushing our ribs apart. We're literally pushing them apart. So there's creates a vacuum for the air to push into the lungs then. So that's really what's taking place there. At one stage, or probably more than one stage, but when I can remember clearly, I had for a period no breathing, upper breathing at all. And normally you'd be going on oxygen and there'd be lots of things happening. And they couldn't figure out why I didn't have any CO2 buildup. And some of my oxygen stats at times, they were okay, and it really didn't make much sense. But it was because my belly breathing was so good. And belly breathing is really simple to do. All you have to do is push your belly out. As you push your belly out, it starts to create a vacuum down there, and that pulls then the air into your lower lungs. It's fantastic for a number of reasons. One of them as well is that if you do it, you won't have any carbon dioxide buildup in your lower lungs because you're breathing into them. So that solves one of the key problems that people have as they're losing their breathing. It's easier because all you're doing is pushing your belly out. You're not actually pushing your bones apart. So from a muscular point of view, it takes far less effort to do it. So even if your breathing is fine, you should still be practicing this, because it will reduce the amount of effort and energy that it takes for you to breathe, and your quality of breath will be improved. Now, of course, because I am my own guinea pig, I had learning things, and at one stage, or for a period, my belly breathing was really excellent, but I wasn't breathing anymore into my chest, and I actually had to relearn breathing into my chest to re-stimulate those muscles. So I'd have the upper body breathing as well, because the belly breathing is not a large part of the lungs which are down there. It's the tail end of the lungs. So there's less lungs down there. Nevertheless, it solves the carbon dioxide problem and just will maintain your health much better. And it's the way we breathe when we're asleep. Like babies, no stress. It's all belly breathing with them. And it's the same when we're asleep. We don't breathe in the chest, and maybe except for unless we're having a nightmare or something like that, it's much more normal for us to belly breathe. So when we do belly breathe, we stimulate the, if I get it right, the parasympathetic system. I do get that phrase wrong at times, so if I say it the wrong way around, let me know. Which is basically your healing system, what happens when you're asleep. So by belly breathing, we go along and suggest to our body that, hey, there's no pressure, there's no stress. This is like being asleep. Isn't the world a lovely place? And there's no worries and there's no problems. And that's the kind of stimulation that belly breathing gives to us physically and psychologically. It has that effect. So it helps our stress then, our mood, our physical mood, our emotional state. It helps our emotional state, because it takes our stress down and lets us relax. So by belly breathing, our motor neuron signal throughout our entire body will reduce. Now, they haven't done scientific things to prove this, because some of it's just logical, and of course, there's no financial reasons for them to investigate it either. But it's quite obvious observation to make. So belly breathing is a real key to supporting your body to be healthier, to reducing stress, to stimulating the parasympathetic system. and reducing the carbon dioxide. And if we get used to doing this, we get used to putting ourselves into a relaxed state. And that's the other key part of this, is to be in a relaxed state. If we learn to really be in a relaxed state, then whatever we do physically, we're doing it from this relaxed state of being. And then the effort it takes for us to do something is reduced. So if you think about having a conversation and speaking to somebody, and if you imagine doing it when you're stressed, and you imagine doing it when you're relaxed. Of course, when you're doing it when you're relaxed, it's easier to communicate. It doesn't take so much out of you. And at the end of doing something which is relaxed, we're still relaxed. So we're then capable of doing something more. So it's a practice then to keep coming back into a relaxed state again and again and again, because our body, because of the circumstances that we have, we're naturally going into stressful states. It's normal with terminal illness. You know, we're faced with loss of bodily functions, loss of health, loss of life. So to be stressed about it is a normal thing to do, because the stress is trying to, hey, come on, do something about this. Yeah. So, you know, it's a deeply natural, healthy response to do something about a dangerous thing that's happening. And losing our health, of course, is a dangerous thing to our life. So it is a natural to be stressed, and we need to do something with that stress. So learning, so if we can accept that, and if we can accept that practicing relaxation by belly breathing is a really good response to being stressed. If we can get that, we'll be doing ourselves a huge service. I come back to this again and again. People have heard this from me sometimes, you know, 15, 20, 30 times over a period, because it never stops being relevant. And we're creatures of habit, so we tend to slip back into our habits without us thinking about it. So it's my job to remind us, hang on, we're slipping back into these habits, and we need to consciously make the right effort to be relaxed now, and to take a relaxing belly full of air, which is descriptive rather than actual. Well, a belly full of air now. And once we do that, we have an immediate relaxation in the body. It's an immediate de-stressor. And you see it all the time, that in different programs and different places, how many times have I heard, you know, something start with, take 3 big breaths and let go. And, you know, that's what you do. Well, I'll really, you know, and you know, if we're stressed and our muscles aren't working, and that's going to be a big effort, particularly on our chest, then we just need to take a bigger breath with our belly. And so instead of taking a big breath, it's taking a relaxed belly full of breath. And so we're not having to pull our ribs apart. We're just expanding our belly, and the relaxation comes naturally. And yeah, we can really bring ourselves down. It has literally saved my life doing that, because of my second illness, which relates to breathing, the asthmatic autoimmune illness. So it's something that I'm asking you to really to you know, and you can use it with meditation as well. That's fine. So, for instance, if you do meditate, that you spend the first 5 minutes of your meditation, or even 2 minutes, you know, it doesn't matter. But you spend the first few minutes of it just doing belly breathing and following your belly breathing breath. Now, since I brought up meditation, and it's something I teach as well, because it's fundamental to deeper levels of relaxation and change and transformation. So when we get into deeper states, deeper, more relaxed states, we're more capable of putting ourselves in a position where change is easier to happen, because we've already left. Being in a deeper state means that we've already left some of our patterns of behavior behind. So it facilitates deep change. And typically the meditation, when I'm teaching it, I'm not asking people to breathe deeply, because there is a school of meditation which is asking people to breathe deeply, and by breathing deeply you have a deeper meditation. They're not actually related at all. They, you know, you can learn to do things that way, but it's not necessary. So when I'm teaching meditation, typically I'm not asking people to have an agenda for their breathing. So an agenda would be like taking a big breath. But I make an exception here to learn and practice belly breathing to enter into a relaxed state. So it's just something you do for the first few minutes to have that practice. And after you've done it for a few minutes, then you can let go of that particular effort. And if your meditation is following the breath, is being conscious of the breath going in and out, then after a few minutes, you can just be conscious of that movement without trying to make it, you know, a big belly breathing breath. But the reason for connecting it with meditation is just if you are a regular meditator, it's an easy place to slide it into a regular day. But the thing is that we need to slide it into a regular day in any case. And the more we learn to do that and the more we practice that, the better it will serve us. And so if we practice it a lot, then it becomes very easy and very automatic for us. So one belly breath, like even just thinking, I'll belly breathe, and then we're doing it, our stress is reduced, our breathing is better, our CO2 is down, and so on. And by doing that breathing, we are taking steps into the healing state. This is the natural healing state of the body, like when we're asleep. We're taking those steps. So every time we're belly breathing, we're taking healing breathing as well. And we can feel it that way too. You know, if we concentrate first on pushing the belly out, and just relaxing is enough usually for it to come back in and out with the belly. And so we'll practice that. And then we can consider healing breath. And so we're conditioning ourselves that this is healing, which it is. It's not, there's nothing makey up in this. This is a healing breath. We can take in and out. So we're stimulating our healing process. And it's really as simple as that. So we can just sit down and say to ourselves, I'm going to give myself 5 minutes healing. And all we have to do to give ourselves the healing is to push our belly in and out. That does it. That it's real. And that whole experience, that whole state grows on us because we've brought ourselves into a healing state. And if we do that a few times a day, then our whole state starts to change from being a regular semi-stressed state to something which is a semi-healing state. And so it's a really massive thing, which is why I talk about it so much. And we talked about relaxation 2 weeks ago. So this is really the next step, and I'm trying to break it down so that because it is this valuable, and it's something that all of us can do. Now there are people who are on machines as well that do the breathing for them. So just in case one of them is listening to this, I'll just include that, because well, first of all, you have to realize is that the modern traditional breathing is in our chest. And so we tend to have lost the habit of belly breathing a long time ago. So if that's the position and a machine is pushing the air in and sucking the air out, then as the machine is pushing the air in, at the same time, we can imagine pushing the belly out. And the same for when the air is being sucked out, is we can imagine sucking our belly in a little bit. And we are initially just imagining that. And it's hard to know, it's possible to quantify the effect of that. But we're using the image of something, and it's forcefully being done by a machine, but we're imagining our body moving with that. So we're stimulating our body to move in a way. And all we have to do is imagine. We don't have to try to make a big, massive effort, because chances are we'll only tire ourselves out, we'll feel frustrated and end up feeling depressed or annoyed. So there's no need to do any of that at all. We can just, we're in a relaxed state of mind as the air is coming in. Imagine our belly pushing out as the air is being sucked out again. Imagine our belly coming in. And then, who knows, over time, that might start to happen a little bit. That we don't really know. So how are we doing? I'm at 7:40. I think I'm getting more efficient at explaining this. This used to take quite a bit longer for me to do. I'm just wondering. We'll give some application of this in walking. I'll talk more next week about particular exercises in terms of walking. So at one stage after I'd come out of hospital, I really couldn't walk very much, and I was in respite care for a while. But even before I got out of hospital, 3 times a day, I would get off the bed and I'd have to swing my legs off, because my right leg I couldn't lift off the bed at all. So I just kind of swing them out, and once the legs would be coming out over the side of the bed, and I'd be using my balance then to get up at the same time. And it's all about least effort, doing things as relaxed as possible. when I was on the Zimmer now, it was pretty hard, I have to admit. I'm not sure if I can really use a good example of when I was trying to get to the bathroom using, we call it a Zimmer frame in Ireland. I think you just call them a walking frame in the States. Yeah. So I was using the walking frame, and I was still using the relaxed state, because if you're in the relaxed state, the energy of your body is far more available. If I was in a stress state, then part of my energy is going into my frustrated, upset emotions at a terrible thing which is happening to me, that I can't even move my right leg. And, I had no strength. My right arm strength was gone as well. So I was just about able to get up off the chair by pushing down on my left arm. I was just about, and get my left leg underneath me. I was just about able to get up. So that was one of my lowest points. And they had me on steroids at the time for the asthmatic condition, and they still weren't working. And that was destroying my muscles, that was. So I went down to 66 kilos, 140 pounds at that stage. The doctors nearly killed me with their treatment. So but being in that relaxed state, and with every movement and with every breath, the body keeps going into relaxed. There's no problem. Body is relaxed. And then that is the best support that we can give our body for it to move with all the difficulty that it has. So when I got off the Zimmer frame, got off the steroids, and which really helped me, and I never stopped practicing after my steroid crash and roid rage, where I just couldn't move for a few days at all. Like with the steroid crash, I was just lying there for days, just waiting, because I literally couldn't move. And all I could do was to drink some water occasionally. That was it. And then I would just drink the water as relaxed as possible, and just kept returning to this relaxed state. So then when I move, it's a relaxed movement. No matter how little it is, it's a relaxed movement. Because if there had been any tension at all, my swallow would have gotten worse. I would have been choking and so on. And I did have some choking, swallowing problems at a different stage. So when I left the Zimmer behind, and I was practicing walking, I had a few different things that I did. But each step was a step of relaxation. And I remember one particular time when I was actually out of the hospital and living here where I am now, and I was taking steps, and I'd gone too far from my apartment. And my steps had gone from sort of the 12-inch shuffle, and it had reduced from that down to kind of 8 inches. And the 8-inch shuffle, all you're able to do is move your hips just a little bit. And my legs were tightening up. They were really beginning to feel the strain. And it was like, oh, hell, I'm not actually going to make it back inside at this rate. And so I just went, well, if I can't make it back inside at this rate, then I'll have to call a taxi and be waiting for one. And I'll end up sitting on the concrete like Pat or something. It wasn't a very good proposition, but it wasn't going to kill me. I wasn't frightened to that level, but it was proving a real problem. So I took smaller steps. So they'd already reduced due to the difficulty, the strain on the muscles. So I reduced it further. So the steps were easier to take. So I went from the 6 inches or the 8 inches down to 4 inches and just relax, 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 relax. And with that smaller step, the muscles and the focus on relaxing, muscles were able to relax. And I made it home. And my legs were okay. Because I've been able to enter into the relaxed state and to practice that, practice doing the movements, taking each step as a relaxed step. Not imposed by the mind. It's not like, hey, relax, body, but really from that inner state of relaxation. So that inner state of relaxation is supported. We support creating it through belly breathing. That's one of the ways. And then optimum healing state is a lot more about the facing our difficulties and developing appropriate strategies which involve being more relaxed. So that relaxed state, and it's all the time. It's automatic. If I start getting stressed now, I know there's something wrong somewhere. If it's with people, then maybe I'm with people I shouldn't be with, or something I have to question, because if I'm in a stress state, I'm in an unhealthy environment, or the environment is having an unhealthy impact on me, or I'm having an unhealthy reaction. But there's something going on there which I need to address. And if I can't practice relaxing with it, then I need to take myself out of it, or I need to manage it anyway. That's the important thing, because of course sometimes we can't avoid stressful situations. Or stressful people. Sometimes that's impossible to avoid. But then when we're without them, we know, okay, that's going to be a stressful half hour or whatever it's going to be. Okay, and after that we go back to our relaxed state. So once our relaxation habit has built up, then we have confidence that it's something which is part of us, and we can do things which are going to be stressful because we know we're going to return to a relaxed state. And even knowing that can reduce the stressful thing by a few levels. So, everything, when I started going to the sauna, which I wanted to do for quite a period, and it was very difficult. Like getting changed was extremely difficult to do. All the bending over and you're in the gym as well and stuff like this. And I wouldn't even be able to talk to people because it was an added effort, which I didn't really have the concentration for. All my energy was staying focused on being relaxed and making the minimum effort to do what needed to be done. And for the first while, all I would do was go into the sauna and have a shower and get changed again. And really, that was enough. And after I did that for a while, and my energy levels started to be okay with it, and then the pool that the sauna has a pool right beside it, and it has nice steps going. Like there's steps are like 6 foot wide and with handrails, so they're really convenient to take the steps into the pool. And so that was all pretty tricky stuff as well. I had to get footwear, pool footwear, because I'd lost flesh and muscle on my feet, so my balance was really on my legs as well. Like my balance was really dodgy. So all the time you're just trying to take each step as a relaxed, balanced step. That's it. You know, and I like talking to people in the sauna, even though it's quite a friendly place, because my voice would be so slow and, you know, it just would sound like I was on heroin or something, you know, it'd be, I don't think I want to do it. Yeah, so eventually I got into the pool, and so I took some steps in the pool, and I just moved my arms a little bit like that. That was all that I did. Because if I did more than that, you know, I was 66 kilos. So if I did more than that, all that would happen is that I'd strain my shoulders and my muscles and have problems. And that did happen. But at least I kept it, you know, I tried to manage it as best as possible. But at that relaxed state was such a huge support. And I see it in pals all the time, not really being in a relaxed state, you know, maybe thinking they are, but really they're avoiding how stressed they actually are, which is natural. But this is what we need to engage with to stimulate and develop our healing state. And reverse this illness, because that's what this is about. It's about reversing the damage that this illness has caused. And, you know, 35 years of, or more actually at this stage, I'm getting older, of meditation experience. So I really had a lot of inner resource to rely on to do this. And it's from that perspective and from that experience that I was able to practice these things, and that's why I'm sharing them with you. I think that's it for tonight from my side. Is there anything you'd like to share, or questions or anything?
I wanted to share, I used to teach kindergarten and third grade, and part of our like behavioral program and emotional program was belly breathing. So it's funny that you say that, because that we would teach the kids how to belly breathe. And when you're upset, take a belly breath, you know, because kids would get angry all the time. And I've never thought to apply it to myself. So that's very interesting that you had, you know, brought that up today. And I know you mentioned like a couple weeks ago, like as you're taking a step, you know, talk to yourself about relaxing. So I'm trying to do that more, instead of being, I'm rushing to get there. Now I'm taking my time and being more relaxed, and, you know, I'm trying to get in that mental state. So thank you for that.
Yeah, that's great. And why are we doing that with the kids?
More because we had a lot of behavioral challenges, and it was part of the behavioral program. And I can't remember the name of the program, but I'll have to try to remember what the program is. But it was all about teaching them belly breathing, starting in kindergarten all the way through 5th grade.
Because it takes down that intensity.
And helps them think, because a lot of our stuff was about, is it a small problem or is it a big problem? Because kids make everything a big problem, and so they're angry or frustrated or sad, so the belly breathing is to get them at a calm state. So
that's it. Yeah. It works for children, it works for adults as well.
Right, exactly. Well, good. I'll start applying it more.
Yeah. And especially if there's something, you know, if there's something where you have a stronger strain with, like, you know, when your voice is more strained. So before speaking, it's better to go into a more relaxed state before speaking, and speaking more gently then. So we're taking a softer approach. And
makes sense.
Most, you know, unless we're in a crowd, busy place, you know, most of the time will be understood. And crowded, busy places I avoid anyway. It was it's kind of reminds me a little bit of one thing. You know, after a while, when my walking had improved, and I went into town, and I knew how far I was able to walk, and, you know, how much impact it would have on me. And so I walked down, it was a busy street in town in Galway, and I walked the length of the street, And I was like wrecked afterwards. And I had to think, spend a while reflecting on why it took so much out of me. And it was because when you're walking with a crowd of people, all walking in different directions and at different speeds, your rhythm is continuously thrown off.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're doing all these adjustments, stop, start, a little bit this way, a little bit that way. And normally we just don't think about it because we don't have to. Well, when your muscles have wasted away, all those little adjustments, there's other muscles involved in them. And when we're practicing our health stuff, we just do one step after another, like on the treadmill and things like that. And so all these sort of side stuff, we miss all of those kind of things. And that took all the extra toll out for me. So yeah, busy places, I just said, right, I'll just skip that level of stress and difficulty. I'll wait. And I'll continue developing my health before I try that again. And I have, and I've worked, and I could walk through it no problem at a later stage. So pick something, physical, like you're doing, that you go more into that relaxed state, and something that you can do several times a day is ideal. That's great. That is, yeah.
I just remember the name of the program. I don't know why it was called that, but Second Step was the name for the behavior.
But maybe the first step is anger, so you're to take a second step, which is to breathe deep. Yeah.
Right, probably.
Yeah, I get that. I think that's not a bad name. Yeah, that's great. So this is, so we have to make it our first step now.
Right, exactly. Absolutely. Definitely be practicing.
Yeah, and it's nice. It's really nice when you start to get into that deeper, more relaxed healing state. Sometimes it can be more emotional as well, because some of our behavior is wrapped up in our movement. And that when we start to change our movement and have a more relaxed movement, then emotions which we were avoiding sometimes come up. And we can then start to feel frustrated and sad and different things like that. That can really happen. And it's really the same. It's the same approach with those emotions as well. I won't get into it in this, but it's the same kind of approach anyway, which is this is what's happening, and we need to relax with it for a bit anyway. Then maybe we need to do something different. Well, let's just try and relax with it, because this is how things are. So just to give yourself permission to change, and permission to be in one way less in control, to be less in control and to be more in healing. Yeah, maybe we can put it like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's okay. That's great. Then we'll leave it at that for today.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll step more into the exercises next week. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Always insightful. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have a good evening. And you sound like you're feeling better. Are you feeling better?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I've come through. Yeah, I have.
Okay,
I think I've gotten over it. Still being a little bit careful, but it's always worth being a bit careful. But yes,
exactly.
Yes, yeah.
You're welcome. Well, thank you. We appreciate it. We'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week then.
Bye. Thank you.
Have a good week.
You too. Bye.
Bye.